Good morning. It's the end of week 1 of the fuel challenge on the 75, and we're currently driving in automatic mode, eco mode, or just standard automatic. And I thought I'd just give you a little update on the fuel consumption of the car. So we have covered 189.2 miles in the last week. We are currently just above half a tank of diesel, and if we'll flick through, got 252 miles of range left, and we're averaging about 33.2 miles to the gallon. So it's the end of week 1 on our fuel consumption challenge. And we have covered most of the town driving last week. We filled the car up on the 19th of November, and we have mostly been, as I said, driving in town. We've been at the cinema in the car. We've just had a wee jaunt out. Where else have we been? Picking up friends. We're doing the school run. We took a wee trip over to Glenrothes for a car meet. I'm back, and really that is about it. So, how have I found driving in standard mode? Well, I'm going to say that you do notice a difference between sport and driving economical. You don't get that extra rev hang that the sport mode has. It doesn't hold the revs as much. And the first time I went into the bypass on Saturday when we went over to Glenrothes, as it just felt, I don't know, it felt quite sluggish. But I don't know if that was maybe in my head, because it seems quite fine now. But what I've found is that you're probably best to get that extra acceleration is just to drop it down to 4. And manually just drop it to 4, drop it to 3 and put your foot down. And back into drive. I've had the sport mode on a couple of times, just on a couple of country roads that I've noticed. But I like. So I've had it on a couple of times, and you do notice a difference. But for the majority of the time, or for most of the time, it's sat in eco mode or standard mode in automatic. So that's my week 1 fuel consumption report. Coming up this weekend, we're taking the car away to Fife for a weekend away. So we'll be road-wise. It's going to visit twisty country roads. So I'll let you know how it's going to be at the end of week 2. I'm hoping to get 200 miles out half a tank. I'd like that, but at the minute it's actually you do notice driving just in standard mode. It feels a lot smoother. The revs don't hang as much driving around town. So yes, that is my fuel challenge report, week 1, or week 1 or whatever. Or for however long the tank lasts. Well, it's the end of week 2 on fuel challenge, where we're currently still driving in economy mode, and we've now got back from a weekend away up on the east coast of Fife, and the mileage now stands at 328.9 miles. Fuel consumption is 32.8 miles to the gallon, averaging. And it says I have 74 miles left in the tank. we do have a fuel light on at the moment. That might go off when the car starts moving. The fuel gauge on this car could be a wee bit optimistic, so that might move off. We'll see what happens. And just on another note, I have used sport mode a couple of times over the weekend. Just mainly just on sort of country roads, but it wasn't for long periods of the time. The majority of driving has been driven in eco mode. It's the end of week 3 on the fuel challenge, and I've now just had to fill up the car at 356 miles driving economically. This week it's just been a mixture of just driving around the town. So 356, we're now going to continue the experiment driving in the sport mode option. And I'll just get my facts and figures for you. Once that, turn the fan down. So 356 miles equates to fuel consumption of 31.3 miles to the gallon. So let's see how long filling up with I'm going to have to start again here. Let's start again, make it more sense. Let's see how long a tank of fuel lasts driving in sport mode all the time and what fuel consumption we get. Good morning and welcome to the fuel challenge, where this time we're going to be driving in sport mode over a full tank of fuel. So as you can see, the tank's brimmed. We've reset the trip meter. We're now just going to reset all the other necessary stuff, information. Know that message. A range of 444 miles apparently. I think that's a 4 anyway, in the middle. And we're now just going to reset the fuel consumption. And there we go. We're now going to turn the engine over. And we're now in sports mode. Let's see how this pans out over the next wee while. We're now at the end of week 1, driving around in sport mode in the Rover 75. So let's have a wee look at some facts and figures. I'm using my trusty interior light up here, as I don't have any interior lights in the car. So here we go. So we have done 46 miles since filling up. This has mostly just been driving around town. Just had a couple of wee jaunts out in the bypass the other day. So here we go. Here's our facts and figures for week 1. So I'll just put the lights on the dials actually. So the fuel gauge has moved off fuel, like so. And if we just get the figures. We've still got about 406 miles left in the tank. Our fuel consumption is pretty appalling, 27.7 miles to the gallon, but that's mainly just because it's just been potting around the town. So it's now it's Christmas Eve, so this, again in the next week, I don't see the car doing too many miles, but we'll just have to see what happens. But that's just week 1 of using the car in sport mode, driving the car around in sport mode. Aye, so I'll report back at a later date. Just a quick update on the fuel challenge. We're now sitting at 104 miles with figures off. With a range of 447 miles left in the tank, a fuel consumption of 33.2 miles to the gallon, and that has been driven in sport mode and also in normal driving mode today as well. Normal driving mode was my wife driving the car, but we're now at 104.2. It's the end of week 2 on the fuel challenge, and we're now up to 129 miles. We've just used just over a quarter of a tank diesel, and our fuel consumption stands at a range of 365 miles, and our fuel consumption is 32.3 miles to the gallon. I'll report back in the next week. Most of the driving was done just during town driving, but I've just given it one wee last blast for 2021, just out to Carberry Tower and back, just to keep the battery turned over. So I'll report back in another week. It's the end of week 3 in the fuel economy challenge while driving in sports mode in the Rover 75. And we have now covered 173 miles since filling up. I think we've got 282 miles left in the tank. A fuel consumption of 30.7, so I think that's actually maybe went down, I think. And our fuel gauge is reading, it's in between a quarter of a tank and coming up towards half a tank. But that goes up, that occasionally goes up depending on once you start the vehicle. So that's just a quick little update. We'll see what we are at the end of the week. This week's driving's mainly, car's not been used as much this week. It's had a wee jaunt out onto the bypass on Monday night. Then it went into town on Wednesday. And just driving around the town basically Thursday and today, which was the school run. So yeah, it's just a bit of a low mileage all week. Maybe hopefully going to give this car a wee run on Sunday. Okay, it's the second week of 2022 and it's the end of week 4 on the fuel economy challenge, and we're now at 211 miles, which is about, I've maybe done, if I'm lucky, 30 or 40 miles in the last week, mostly potting about the time. and one trip out on the bypass just to give it a wee run. So let's have a look at our figures this week. Putting the lights up. Our fuel gauge is just sitting on half a tank at the minute. We've got about 208 miles left in the tank, maybe. This IPK screen's not the greatest. Fuel consumptions went down. We've lost 0.7, so we're just averaging about 30 miles to the gallon at the minute. I think we were on 173 miles last week. We're now on a 211. So hopefully I'll see if I can get out into the car at the weekend and give it a wee run. Doing some filming tomorrow on the buyer's guide for the Rover 75, so I might include some footage in there. But till the end of next week, I'll catch you later. Good afternoon, and it's end of week 5 of a fuel challenge where we've been driving in sports mode for the last 5 weeks to see if there's a difference between driving in normal driving mode or sports mode. So this week the car has covered now covered a total of 274 miles since the last fill up, and fuel equates to got 118 miles possibly in the tank. The display's a wee bit wonky at the minute. Our average fuel consumption is 28.8, so that's gone down. And you'll notice as well that the brake warning light in the main display has gone. That's because I have replaced the wear sensor. And I'll maybe put in a couple wee photos of the actual doing of that, because I never actually recorded any of it. So I'll put in a couple of photos on the wear sensor that I've replaced. Fuel is now in the last quarter of a tank. Now normally around this sort of time, around about the 20th, I usually sort of fill the car right up as I get paid at work, but I'm not going to do that this month. I'm just going to basically see how far we can get out this tank, because I think it was 356 just driving in just in drive and not in sports mode. So most of us mileage this week's just been a wee run on the bypass, just potting around town. Done a wee bit of filming as well. We include that into here as well, of the steepest street in Scotland, or the second steepest street in Scotland. So I've done a rovering adventure. So the car's done a few miles this week, but not as much as I wanted to do. I still want to give this car a run. I might do it tomorrow. I just don't know. Haven't got the enthusiasm at the minute to get up early in the morning and go for a drive. But no, we're getting there. So probably next week, by the time you see the next video, I'll probably have started to fill this car. I'll probably have completed the challenge and filled the car up. So I'll catch you then. Well, it's the day after I've done the last update, and I'm pleased to say I've got out of bed. Still a bit reluctance to get up, but I've given the car a wee run. So it's sounding a little better. It feels as if it needed that wee run. And current mileage now is 311.1. So we're really about 45 miles off our best target at the minute. 132 miles left in the tank. Fuel consumption is up again to 30 miles to the gallon. So yeah, that was just a little bit of a wee update just to say that I've given the car a wee blast and fuel's still quarter of a tank. So let's see at our next update how far we've got. And it's the end of the fuel challenge, where for the last couple of months we've been seeing if it's more economical to drive in sports mode or just in standard automatic. So let's go and find out the figures. So the final figures, unfortunately, it's more economical to drive in standard automatic. As sports mode achieved 344.8 miles. So let's have a quick look at the figures. I mean, I could have pushed it a wee bit more to get up to 356. But I'm left it with 55 miles in the tank, or 66 miles left in the tank. With a fuel consumption of 29.7. So that's the experiment over and done with. But like I said, I think it's quite possible I could have pushed this a wee bit more to get past 356 in sports mode. But it was just goes to prove there's not much in it, maybe 10-12 miles of a difference. Driving between normal automatic and sports mode. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe at Scottish Car Enthusiasts and Trains TV, and I'll catch you in a future video with some more Rover content soon.